Okay, so we are working on a surreal number 10 here. Trying to, sometimes it's a bit challenging to get this. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna do a little bit similar with what I was doing yesterday. Or was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday. Okay, so we're just drawing here. We're just drawing lines here, and I'm making the number 10. So I don't know if you guys can see here. I've got the number 10 traced out, and I've got little lines kind of quarantined off here. Just a little bit of doodling artwork here is what I'm working on. And so I'm just kind of experimenting with different types of lines right now, just to see what I get. 'Cause, 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 Oh, that one's kind of fun. Oh, they both are kind of fun here. We go off on some different directions inside of, okay, let me flip it upside down here. Okay, what I'm gonna do is, okay, since I've got I used folds to actually draw my lines. That's what I did, was use some folds to draw my lines. Okay, let's kind of stick with, I kind of like the little guys looking, the little eyes out both sides. I'm going to make them a tiny bit smaller than that other one. So this one, the little eyes are a little bit larger than. Okay, so we kind of want to do something a little bit down the center, a little bit like that. And then draw curves on both sides. There. Oh. So what we're drawing is the number 10. We've got a number 10 in here. Hopefully it won't completely disappear. But we're working on the number 10. Okay. So you can see I've got the 0 and this is the number 1. And so I'm turning I'm working on the number 1 right now. Okay. Just kind of filling in the lines. I'm going to see kind of what it looks like here. And so I am going in opposite directions related to the lines to what I would go in. We're going in opposite directions. Okay, so I'm not going to go, well, maybe I should on this one. Maybe I will on this one. We'll go in the same direction. This one I went in the opposite. And yeah. Oh, no, I didn't go in the opposite, did I? I thought I did. Okay, so right here, this is what I can do that'll give us an opposite direction. I'm going to make an oval with points, kind of like an eyeball. And so this will give us the opposite direction. Right there, like that. So let's do this like that. And we'll go the opposite direction of from what we were going. And we can do a little bit of this down here at the bottom, like this. So we're working on the number 10. This one kind of, I'm not sure yet. That one stands out because I went in the opposite direction. So it just kind of, it really just stands out. It doesn't look like it's going any place. And maybe a tiny bit right here. Let's see what I can do if I can. Just looks like it's there. But we're going to leave it. I mean, I can't erase it or anything like that because I've worked in ink. Okay, so that kind of completes our number 1 right here. This is it for my number 1. That's it. And so I need to work on my 10 here. Okay, so this is what it will look like. Okay, this is the number 1. This is 10 right here. Okay, so let's fold. I'm going to fold in this direction because I've got folds on here anyway. And so that works out. That works out with the folds. That's what I use to make my paper lines here. And so the lines are what I'm going to follow. Okay, so how do I want to do it this time? Let's do something like this. And we will go right here. Now I'm trying to be careful not to draw too much on the back side so it goes, yeah, I don't want it just blending in through there to the opposite side. So sometimes I can get a little bit heavy-handed with the ink, and that's not what I'm trying to do here. And I know some of you probably have done the same thing, I bet. Went through the opposite side. Okay, so we're going through. I don't have a line on what I need to do, so I don't go outside my lines too far. A little bit is okay. A little bit's okay. Okay, I'm just gonna lightly sketch a line right there, and I'm gonna lightly sketch a line right here. There, that's all I need. Just a light little sketch like that. Okay. See, I've already kind of maybe gone a little bit too far, but I think that's okay. It'll still work. I'm trying to decide. I think I'm just going to start on this. There. Okay, so we were successful with that. I'm wondering, I probably do need to draw my lines right here. These I'm going to draw like that and make these a little bit darker, just like that. Okay. Ooh, perfect. Perfect. I still like my turning my paper technique. That's kind of fun too. But this way is a little less time consuming. When I go up here like this, I'm doing the same thing, bouncing off each side. And I go to making actually a spiral square is what I'm making. A spiral rectangle is what I'm making. There, just like that. And see, mine do not turn out perfect like those guys who use the Sharpie markers. Theirs turn out perfect. Mine turn out odd shaped. So Sharpie marker guys, I knew I would remember. I had a reminder the other day of it was but they're not ever. Well, these two are kind of similar right there. It's sort of cool. So this is the center of my number 10. So I'm going to carry this design out here. Oh, I know what I'm going to try and do here. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to fill up this whole box right here. I'm going to do something like this. Oh, I went outside of the line a little bit, but that's okay. I'm going to make my eyeball right here. Like that. Okay, and so I'm just gonna do this like that. Now today I watched, there's been some comedy on YouTube. I'm not going to talk about what it is because, but there was just this comedy thing that was going on and I thought it was so funny. I don't know if anybody else has caught the comedy thing going on. Or if you know what comedy thing I'm talking about. Most people don't want to talk about it, which is real, kind of funny. Okay, so let's see what I'm going to do here. What am I going to do here with you? Because I made you extra large down here. You look like a foot. You actually look like part of a foot. Let's, how about we do this? Let's do this direction. Yeah, we'll do this direction like this. Okay. We'll just do it like this. Have you ever been around someone, it's like, well, you say something and then they just get carried away and think that they push limits, and it's like In real life, a lot of times people don't like their limits pushed. Where we can talk about something on the internet and we have a barrier. Like here, if I was to say something that was kind of came across as, maybe one of those things they talk about, not safe for work. That would be a good terminology to use. So if I said something that was not safe for work, um, there's a barrier on the internet. Whereas in real life, if you say something, then there's always those who want to push the limits further and further and further. And that's how workplace abuse happens. When people do that, it's like, okay, well, I said something, and that didn't mean that I wanted the person to respond the way that they did. Which then, if I was an employee, it would constitute charges, some very serious allegations, which really constitutes, because of the position that I'm in, not being an employee, another set of problems. And okay, so let me do this right here, like this. And it just lingers like a stink, It lingers a lot like a stink. Especially when you don't have anyone to talk to. And then there's like this idiot, oh my gosh, there's an idiot person from Atlanta. I don't know why he popped up. His name is Richard, and he goes by I Fail First or something like that. And he is so mean. Never in my life. I mean, he comes across as one of the internet troll people, and he's talked about how he he's worked with Disney and the movie industry and all these rap artists and stuff. And he said he quit his job with the entertainment industry to create a channel on YouTube. And he said he's just getting paid by YouTube. I don't believe him, because he's living in it's over 2,000 square foot size mansion up in the Atlanta area. And when he says he's earning revenue from YouTube, um, specifically living in a house that big, I don't believe him. I don't believe him at all. I believe he's one of the, he's in part of the network, and so they're lying, and that's what they've got all of them doing, is lying. They're lying, and they're still part of the network, and they have told them to say that they're entrepreneurs, and they're not. And so what he said, he's like, oh, well, I can go back to work anytime I want to, working for working for the movie industry. And it's like, okay, really? And so he said he's just home all day long on the internet, doing his job on the internet, and that's all he's doing. And I just thought, I just absolutely do not believe him. It's like, if that was true, the rest of us would have been able to make YouTube work. And so that's the kind of thing that Hollywood does when they put them under a non-disclosure agreement. They don't want them to. Well, it's kind of that thing when someone said the other day, oh, I know what it was. I was watching this thing on C-SPAN the other day. And what they said is these people want hands off, complete hands off, up until the point that they need something. I know what a good example would be. For example, like the Hollywood fires. And so with the gated communities and things like that, They want to have their own property. They want to have things their own way. They want to do things their way. They don't want the government involved. Up until they need water or sewage or something like that, then they're crying for the government. They want the government to come in and help them. And so that's kind of been the same premise as like with churches and things like that, you know. So when they've said churches don't want to pay taxes, well, the fire department will respond if there's people inside of the church. But then they've said they don't have to respond to put the fire out of the building if there's nobody inside of the church because they don't pay taxes. And then I guess in some places too, what they've said is that some places in some counties don't even have a fire department. They don't even have a fire department. So it's just kind of a strange. Oh, that looks pretty good. But some people who are talking to this Richard guy, I mean, he was obnoxious. I mean, he was nice at first to me, and then he just turned and was saying that he didn't believe anything that when I tell him something, he's like, "Oh, everything on the internet is fake. Everything on the internet is fake." And it's like, what is that? I don't get their motive and their, you know, he needs to go in front of other people who have had abuses taken place in real life. He needs to go in front of soldiers who have YouTube channels and deal with them when he tells the soldiers that everything in life is fake in front of police officers on the internet who have been injured in the line of duty and have some serious catastrophic injuries that have disrupted their life in a very serious way. And he needs to tell them that their life is fake. And I would like for them to deal with him because it's like he is so mean to me, and he just starts calling us names. You know, that's what he'll do is if you don't do what he wants. So what he's doing is he has taken, I don't know why he got to me as far as he says, "Well, you're supposed to be teaching me how to use the internet." And it's like, "Well, why would you don't even know me, so why would you pick me out specifically to tell me that I'm supposed to be teaching you how to use the internet? What was it about my YouTube channel that had you thinking I knew something about how the internet worked?" I mean, that's first of all, that's what I was curious about because my channel that I have right now is relatively new, for about, I think, 18 months. So it's not my original channel. So what would make him think that I'm supposed to be teaching him how to use the internet? I have a channel that's about 18 months old. He tells me he doesn't believe anything that I'm saying to him. So why would he be so interested in me to think that I would have some insider knowledge of how YouTube works, that he was that interested to follow my channel, and to tell me that he thinks that I have some insider knowledge to help him make his channel successful. I was I was curious about that. It's like, well, how so and then oh, actually he told me, he says, "Why don't you when I unsubscribed from him, because he had made me a moderator on his channel. He was making everybody a moderator. And he told me, he says, "Why don't you just shut the fuck up and be funny? Stop with your negative stuff." And I get tired of hearing that because the thing is, he acts like a big crackhead. That's what he's acting like, is a great big crackhead, sniffing all the time and everything. He's mean. And it's like, I don't need that drama. This is not the drama that I don't need any drama at all. And so it's like they pick out certain channels and then they want to imply that we're some kind of Oh, I know what he went on with. He's like, oh, you lefties. That's what he was carrying on about. Then he starts calling me, so he turns it into a political thing. And it's like, I don't know how many times I have to explain to the point it's like, all right, it's none of your business. I don't have to explain myself. And so then it's like I just unsubscribed from him. He's like, well, why is it you're still here? It's like, okay, well, I'm not anymore. I'm not watching. I'm not gonna, you know, what I'm not interested in. But the thing is, it's like I'll give a person a chance. Sometimes I might listen to a channel for a couple of months, a few weeks to a couple of months. Sometimes I hear something that someone says right away. And sometimes there's people I'll listen to them, I'll unsubscribe from them, and then I'll subscribe to them maybe a year later because they've changed their tune. And it's like, well, I really didn't think that that person was like that, but I understood the moment they were going through. And so when they go through that, it's like, you like the person, but then it's like, well, um, they've kind of just been caught up with the same kind of yuck that everybody else has sort of been caught up in. And either they'll stick around or they won't, and some people do and some don't. And, that's one of the things that I always said, when people are in turmoil, um, I recognize that in myself too. It's like other people tend to throw around a lot of terminology about people that is not accurate. That's what I've noticed. Oh, I like that a lot. Oh my goodness. I like that a lot. Okay, here. So I've got... Okay, now we're going to get started with we've got the 10 done. 10 is done. I'm wondering if it's going to blend in a lot. I know the one that I did the other day blended in a lot. And so, okay, so here's my line right there. So let me make this line a little bit darker. Okay. I'm wondering if I should split. Maybe I should split it in half. Maybe I'll split it in half on these. But I don't want to split this one in half, though. These might work better if I split them in half. It's my project, and I can do it how I want to do it. There's no rhyme or reason to how my project works. And so, so that's the thing related to the tabloid stuff that people want to bring on the internet. A lot of people don't want to do it. I would say the majority of people don't want to do it. And so so that's what they're saying today related to this thing that's going on the internet right now. Um, so the comedy thing is, it's like, well, this is how you get views. You gotta you gotta talk about a bunch of people, and basically what they're saying is that they gotta be antagonistic and say a lot of mean things about people. And it's like, I don't believe that. I don't believe that you have to be that way to get views. And it's also kind of like the premise of antagonistic content. It's the trends. It also plays into the trends of what I call hit it and quit it. Well, everybody's seen that, the tentpole trends, or they'll build something up and um, then the trend ends. And so if you don't keep the trend going, then it just kind of goes away. And I had seen that even on my channel. There was a lady, it was weird. It was just kind of weird having people talk about you and make stuff up. And they've been doing this for a long time. Like when I started getting a lot of viewers on my YouTube channel, on my original one, they were making stuff up. And to me, it didn't make any sense, or they were just saying things and nobody would explain what they were doing. so I had to kind of figure it out for myself, that there was these people that was just writing stuff. They'd never talked to me, but they just decided to write stuff. So, the majority of people were nice. They were kind with what they were doing. But then there was these ones who just wanted to create trouble. And it's like, when they do that, it makes no sense. I don't want to be a part of that. It's like you're going to just make stuff up just because. And, and it's like, so you're telling only one side of a story. That's all you're doing, is just telling one side of a story. But then you're making money off of it too. That's the other problem, is that they make money off of telling one side of a story. It's not even truthful. And then they're tearing down someone else. It's like, that's not what YouTube was about. The majority of people, a lot of times the drama people who did stuff, they were doing it inside of their own networks. But then they start picking on other people, and it's like you can curate content. They can curate content and not be mean. I mean, it's easy. It's easy to curate content of someone else's channel and not be mean about it and not be mean-spirited about it. I mean, I know how to do it. I know how to curate content and just not say anything. I know how to include people who don't even know I exist, and not be mean about it. And the thing for me is that right now, there's certain things even on the internet, if I write things, they still get censored. I still get censored with certain words and a lot of things that I write. And it's like, and for what? Okay, this is what I'll bring up is, okay, so if I see something that looks like it is adult content of some sort, and then I report it, so that's used against me. So if I see something that looks like, the alternative is I can just ignore all adult content and potential people that are being harmed on the internet. But that's the whole reason they created those tools to begin with, was for people to report, the reporting system if someone's being hurt related to in real life. And animals. There was one. This one was, I'll give this example. It was a foreign country, and there was someone had a mouse that they had tied to something. I don't know, there was a mouse or something. And I reported it as animal abuse, and it got taken down. The video actually got taken down. And so it's the same thing if you see someone hitting a dog. I watched this on the show Cops last night too, about the guy hitting. It was on everybody's not favorite TV show, but on the TV show Fox. They had some of the original Cops episodes, and there was a guy who was beating his dog, and he got arrested and taken to jail. And but this little mouse, and it's like, it was just mean and mean-spirited. And you see that from a lot of the foreign videos, that they're being mean to the animals. The elephant. I think that one got taken down too. There was some guys from a foreign country, and they were hitting an elephant. And it's like, okay, so does that reflect bad against me as a content creator for reporting? So if we make an error, isn't it better to make an error in judgment? But as a content creator, where it gets used against us if we report abuse, so I mean, that includes animal abuse too. A lot of people will report animal abuse before they'll report human abuse. That's the impression I'm getting right now. People will report animal abuse, and they care less about humans. And that's one of the things I've always said about like when they, with the charitable contributions, they care more about animals and children than they do grown adults. That's a fact. Unfortunately, it's a fact. Okay, so I'm going to cut a line right through here. You know, so, I mean, so as content creators, you always have that in your mind. It's like, well, or I know I do. It's like, okay, so if I report this, it comes up in front of me, because I have a somewhat of a record for being able to pick out things that do fit the bill of being removed and being age restricted. Okay, so let me ask this question. If I see something that is adult related and it has, now I'm an adult and I've been doing this for 19 years related to knowing and having an understanding of well, this isn't something children should be looking at. Wouldn't you rather have me report it so your kids don't see it? That's what I mean. I know I wouldn't want my kids seeing a lot of stuff that unfortunately they had to see. Um, I mean, but yet I don't, on the same note, I don't want that used against me as a content creator either. Just because I reported something, should that hurt my YouTube channel because I've reported something? And a lot of people would say yes. Well, okay, so if what they'll say is if someone's abusing, if someone's doing adult content, I've heard this so many times. If someone's doing adult content and they're not hurting you, why do you want to report it? Well, let me ask the same question. Okay, well, if I see someone who is abusing an animal, it's not hurting me. Why do I want to report it? On the same note, so if this guy who and you who are doing some adult content and he starts beating on you, why do I want to report it? I just need to stay out of it, right? Or if you go on the internet and you need help, and that's what you're using is the internet because you need help, and you start talking in code in a language. Now, if you guys remember, this was on TV, and to this day, I believe it still works. You start talking in a language because of the fact that you become around a very toxic person. And so you do need some kind of help, but you don't have any place to go. You don't have anyone to help get you out of that situation because you have no place to go. You're scared. I understand how that is. And so there's some evil things that take place even here in the United States. And it takes a long time to recover from that. Oh, I came across another guy today too who was talking about he was upset with women. He said there was a thing going on outside, and he said he said something to the effect that women have rights. And I said, "Oh, really?" I said, "What?" He says, "Yeah." He was saying that women have rights. I mean, he seemed like a really nice guy. I listened to him for a little bit, but he wasn't talking a whole lot. But it seemed like he didn't want to hear another side. He's like, "Yeah, women have rights." And I'm like, "Well, what about the healthcare thing?" Well, then he doesn't want to talk about that. You know, it's like, okay, some people have health care and others don't. How is that equality? And when we have inflation, and next thing you know, there was these guys who came to his door. And I don't think he realized that he had left his internet on, and they were asking him, they said something about Comcast. And so he had left his internet on, and so he was giving personal information while his internet was still on. And I thought, how scary is that? He was giving his real name. He gave out his phone number and his email address. And so they were wanting him to go to I guess to a different carrier, I guess, to Comcast or something like that. And it just reminded me of what Comcast did to me when, yeah, okay, my internet, it got shut off early. And then the place to turn the internet box back in, well, they just kept charging. Comcast kept charging me after the internet was shut off. And so they were adding interest charges on. And so all I was getting a hold of was some woman in China who said that I owed Comcast this money. And it's like, well, wait a minute. I don't even get a, you said you would have a guy come and pick the box up. You guys had done that before in the past. And now you're not going to have someone come to the house and pick the things up that you had them doing before. And so they were charging me. They just kept charging me for a service that had been shut off. They shut me off, but they were still charging me. And they were charging more for the rent of the equipment when I wasn't even able to watch their TV shows or use the phone or anything. And so everything just got shut off, and I had absolutely no phone service, no nothing. It was just shut off, cold turkey, without any warning, because my ex-husband just decided he wasn't going to pay for things anymore. And there was absolutely no communication whatsoever related to the divorce, related to what was going on. There was no communication from my attorney, from his attorney, or anything. And it's like, well, none of that made any sense. And so to be able to talk about that stuff on the internet, you can't do it because there's so many idiots. They're like, they think they know what they're talking about, and it's pointless to even talk about it. So I can sit here and talk about it on my own channel. I did get a notice from Google the other day. It said not to believe anything that anyone said about legal or medical advice. Legal and medical advice were the two main ones. I think there was a third one. I don't remember what it was. But they said legal advice and medical advice to there's a great chance that it's not going to be accurate. That's what they were saying. I mean, and these people are just adamant about this, a lot of diseases and things like that. And it's like, okay, I don't even want to hear about your diseases. You came into our groups where we had created stuff on the internet, completely destroyed our groups, and talking about medical stuff that you don't know anything about. And which kind of aligns with that Harvard stuff, where they talked about that there's people who go to Harvard, and the only thing that they're doing is repeating. It's like they're just repeating and learning medical terminology. That's all they're doing. And I kind of knew that when I was going to college. Now this was, where the college that I was going to had nursing students who went to college to learn medical terminology. But I always wondered, it's like, well, yeah, but when you go to work for a hospital, and each hospital could be a tiny bit different, or that's what I was thinking anyway. So it's that thing where you go to work for the hospital, their medical terminology might be different than what the school taught you. And then that started kind of resonating with what they were doing with Harvard Medical. And I was thinking even the same thing with Harvard Law. And it's like, well, so if Harvard doesn't actually have a medical school on staff, because there are medical hospitals that teach. They teach at the same time that they're an actual hospital. And I kind of remember that when I was having my kids. The doctors would come around when they were doing rounds, and then they would actually introduce and say that they had a student with them. So if they had a student or an intern, and I remember that too with my oldest son when he was in the intensive care unit. um, when he was born a preemie, they would actually introduce the staff who was interns, and that's what they would tell me. They would use that wording specifically. They'd say, they would say, we have some um, students with us today. Is it okay if we bring them in? And I told them yes. I mean, I didn't think of it as a big deal. I didn't feel scared or anything as far as that goes from the students coming in, because I didn't put much thought into it either. I was thinking as far as that they were in training, but they got to learn somehow. It would have been nice, though, since they were in training, if the bill would have been cheaper. That would have been nice, too. Now, someone did raise that issue. They said, well, if they're gonna use students on patients for certain things, then shouldn't the services be free? Because the students aren't getting paid. In some cases, they might be, but medical is still expensive. But then they always talked about that, what was that guy, Dr. Ben Carson? They said he didn't know what he was doing. What they said was that they wouldn't know, the people who were talking about him said they would not want him operating on them. And so then got me thinking, it's like, well, is that because he's like a TV doctor? And so there started to be kind of this little mix of, it's okay, is this a big joke to some people? Okay, so you guys are talking about, you've got the actors that you're mixing in, or what is the Harvard thing, or is that and I remember President Obama asking some of the young kids who were going through when he was president, he was asking them, he said, do you want to be a real doctor? And some of them would say yes. Well, what they said is they wanted to go to Harvard, and he's like, do you plan on being a real doctor? That's what he was asking all of them. Do you plan on being a real doctor? So there was something he was implying when he said that. Do you plan on being a real doctor? Well, what does that mean? So is there something that's going on at Harvard where they do not turn out real doctors? I'm wondering, is that thing where people go to a college and they get a PhD? Well, you can just get a PhD to be a teacher. You can have a doctorate and be a teacher. That doesn't necessarily mean, I mean, you could have a PhD. Yeah, you would be a doctor. Do you want a college professor or teacher operating on your brain? So your college teacher can have a PhD, which is a doctorate. Do you want a lawyer operating on your brain? I mean, there are lawyers who have, what is it, a Juris Doctorate? I think it's called a JD or something like that. Do you want a lawyer operating on your brain? I don't think you do. I mean, the lawyers don't even know what the heck they're doing most of the time anyway, as it is. Everybody is upset with them. I sure would not want a lawyer operating on my brain or diagnosing me for anything. Absolutely no. And I tell you, if I was married to a lawyer, I would tell him to go to hell. He's not going to diagnose me for anything. That's how it's going to be, honey. You're not going to diagnose me for anything. But unfortunately, there's lawyers who are doctors, unfortunately. I mean, really, a lawyer who's a doctor. That's just a bunch of bogus. You are not a doctor. You're probably not even a lawyer. You probably don't even know what you're talking about. And that's what a lot of those guys in Congress, they don't know what the hell they're doing. It's like, how in the world does all these guys all of a sudden, it's like, Oh, well, we're lawmakers, we're lawyers, and now all of a sudden, out of the blue, didn't Ted Cruz presumably go attend Harvard? And it's like all these politicians out of the blue attended Harvard. It's like, what's all that about? That's really weird. So all of a sudden, we hear about all these politicians who attended Harvard. Now they're lawyers and they attended Harvard, and so I guess they're the Harvard law thing. And it's like, well, why do you need a to attend Harvard to be a politician? And who's pushing that and why? That means that you're taking, I don't even think Harvard existed at the time of the founding of the Constitution. But now there's people who had said that at the time of the founding of the Constitution and when they decided on immigration, when they decided they were going to do some controlled immigration, what they said was people through their naturalization process, that they had told them, they said, the President of the United States is your father. So now the ongoing joke is that Donald Trump is your daddy. When you go through the immigration and naturalization process, Donald Trump is now one of the founding fathers and he's now your daddy. Did you guys know that? So if you come to the United States and you be getting naturalized, like some of those other people did, I think that, when Melania Trump got naturalized, I think Barack Obama was her daddy. Didn't they say she got naturalized about 12 years ago, Melania Trump? So would that be when Barack Obama was president? That means that when she did the naturalization ceremony, then Barack Obama is Melania Trump's daddy, right? That makes sense to me. Oh, that one turned out pretty good. And so that's what they were saying, is that they told all, and so then it made sense to me because I didn't understand the thing where African Americans or black people, I think we call them black people now, I'm not quite sure. Neither one is offensive, I don't think. But they were talking about how Thomas Jefferson was their father, and they were saying that he'd slept with some of the women. But Thomas Jefferson, I believe, was at the time of immigration and slavery and when all that stuff was going on. And when they came to the country to become naturalized legally, that's what everybody was told. It didn't matter the color of their skin. They were told that the President of the United States was now their father. And so it's like, okay, I mean, I can see how you guys can turn this into a joke too. I mean, yeah, it's funny. It's funny. When you look at it like that, it is kind of funny to think now Donald Trump, he's a founding father, and he said he's going to have Mount Trumpmore. He wants his face on in South Dakota. But now, the ones who are getting naturalized nowadays, then Donald Trump is going to be their dad. Donald Trump is their daddy. Okay, we're working on our number 10 here. But my gosh, he was funny today. That's who I was watching today. I mean, he was just saying some things. It's like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe you said that. Now, what he's saying that everything is fake. They didn't say it. I mean, it's really Donald Trump. He was calling himself AI Donald. That's what he was calling himself, is AI Donald. But it really looks like him. It doesn't look like the artificial intelligence. It really looks like it's Donald Trump. And so, and then they've got this funny thing that this guy makes, this noise that they make. Oh my gosh, it's so funny. I was just cracking up all day. It was just, but he was making fun of himself more than anything. And that's the thing about it that was kind of funny, is that, and then the guy, he kept saying, he's like, well, I have to say, that all of this is a joke. It's not intended to be real. It doesn't represent any of the people that we're talking about. I don't even know. They talked about only a few people. I think they talked a little bit about Ben Carson and Donald Trump. They did say a little bit about Barack Obama, I think. Oh, he said, when is Barack Obama going to produce his birth certificate? That's what he said. Something like that. But he said, oh my gosh, he was using the F word an awful lot. A lot. He was saying it a lot. Not just a little. He was using the F word a lot. I was shocked about that. It's like, really? I mean, and I don't believe that they can have I don't know. I mean, a live stream and a voice at the same time that would be a fake AI Donald Trump. Is that possible? I don't know. I know that people, I guess if you have a voice actor who sounds like Donald Trump but might not be him, and then a filter that looks like him, then yes, that's possible. Because I know Los Angeles has the annoying orange thing, that annoying orange filter that they've been using for a long time. I should have went the different direction than this one. And so that's what I'm trying to figure out, if that was a real Donald Trump or a fake Donald Trump. I don't know. But he was funny. Whoever was doing it was hilarious. And then people were writing that Joe Biden died. That's what they were saying. It's like, really? Where does that come from? They're saying that Joe Biden passed away. And it's like, well, that makes no sense. If he passed away, wouldn't we have known about it? I mean, that's what they were saying. They said the original Joe Biden passed away like 10 years ago or more, and that another Joe Biden stepped in. That's what they're saying. This is the kind of nonsense that they're saying. And that another Joe Biden stepped in and took his place. And so they said they wanted to keep the Joe Biden they had, so they got a lookalike, a body impersonator. This is the kind of stuff that they're telling people. And it's like, well, what would be wrong with, if the real Joe Biden passed away, what would be wrong with telling people that he actually passed away? Or you just want to put in another person because you want to use the same person for some nefarious purpose. And that would be like the Britney Spears conservatorship. It's like, do they do that in politics? I don't think they do. Why would you do that with a politician? And that doesn't make any sense to me. Because I know, like, with the Britney Spears conservatorship, that kind of makes sense to me, because of the fact it's like, okay, well, if you can keep that game going as long as possible, then that means that you have that celebrity going for a really, really long time. And then whoever owns the franchise keeps that going for a long time. And then they don't have to dissolve it. That's the only thing I can think is related to dissolving the franchise of the celebrity, is that when they talk about a conservatorship and her dad being over it. Well, that would be the same thing like with the Duggars too, and when the Duggar kids talked about that they didn't get paid. As I know, there was a series on Amazon, and I think it was Jill Duggar. She said that her dad didn't want to pay them. She said she didn't even know that they were getting paid. She said that they were on TV. They didn't get paid a dime. So it's like, she said there's basically no money for them, and their dad took all the money and put it in the house. But then here they are, kids on TV, and they're not getting paid in these reality TV shows. Now, I actually thought and I saw them on TV. I thought they were real. I wouldn't have thought that they were actors, but then in hindsight, it's like, oh, they're reality TV shows, because I know the woman on that played Robin on Sister Wives, she looks just like Nancy Kerrigan. And so I saw that a few weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago. She looks just like Nancy Kerrigan. And she kind of has that same crisis actress whine. Now, lately, this last part of the season, she has stopped with the whining that she was doing and the crying, but she was saying how it took them a long time because she said she had a idea of what she wanted a plural marriage to be, and so she went in it wanting to have all the women stick around. So she actually liked the women. The other women didn't like her when she came around. And so they were saying that their husband was putting all his time into the new woman. And then they got mad at him too. They were mad. Here I am talking about all this stupid Hollywood stuff. But it's so ridiculous though. Um, because they said they're not a plural family anymore, which is true, they're not. But they were mad because they said that with the other women, Cody did not kiss them before they were married. And they said with Robin, he kissed Robin. And Christine, she had even said at one point herself, she said that someone was asking how how they would feel about, oh, I know what it was. She said if they felt like they needed to be with another man in order to have a spiritual, what they call it, like a spiritual divorce. And Christine, she said something to the effect of, she says, well, in a plural marriage, we're just used to sharing the same man. So why do we need to go through with that? Why do we need to? So someone had told them that they needed to actually sleep with another man in order to spiritually divorce themselves from Cody. And so Christine was saying that's completely ridiculous. She says, because we're just used to having multiple women in the relationship and sharing the same man. And she said, when you're talking about a marriage, it's like that's something that's just normal to them anyway. But I've always raised the issue with related to men and women who cheat. It's like, well, you're deciding for your partner to bring another person into the relationship without them knowing about it, even though I've heard a lot of this on the internet, and a lot of people, that men will say, oh, well, she knew, we talked about this before we even got married, and she knew absolutely what my thoughts were on this. And it turns out that that's not true. And so a lot of the expert doctors, well, therapists, let's call them therapists because that's a better word. People who gather information, write books and things like that, counselors. They said a lot of times the man thinks that he explained things to the woman, and they may have had some conversations about something, but that doesn't mean that she wants him to actually follow through and cheat and have multiple women, or that he might think he has permission to cheat from her, which is just not true. And so, I mean, that's always the demise of these relationships, is when that happens, is he thinks that he has a pass to do things. So just because a woman has expressed and said, well, she's fine with him being with different women, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's true. Up until the point then she finds out that it happens, then they end up getting divorced. And for a lot of people, cheating is a deal breaker. Dr. Phil himself, he says, yeah, for some people, he says cheating does not have to be the end of a marriage or the end of the relationship. He says, but with physical abuse, Yes, he says that is the end. That is a really big reason for the end of a marriage. He said, absolutely, that's a big reason for the end of a marriage. Physical abuse is always a reason for the end of a marriage. I mean, I would think the man would be in prison forever. If you're going to, on Cops last night, they sent a guy to jail for beating a dog. You would think that a man who beats his wife even just once would be in prison forever. You would think. I mean, because it's not going to stop. It's going to keep happening to another woman and another woman and another woman. It's just not going to stop. He's going to keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. Why are men getting rewarded? And I'm tired of these. I'm absolutely tired of these men on the internet, on YouTube, who carry on about and say that they've been hit by women and abused by women emotionally. I am tired of hearing from them. And they sit on there and they sound so sincere that they've had something going on, and they want to qualify everything with, oh, and women do the same thing. And it's like, okay, I don't want to hear from you guys. It's like, I'm not in a place to hear from you guys. I can't even express what happened to me without you guys always qualifying, oh, and men too. It's like, well, if you have to keep qualifying and men too, you're not even sharing a story of what happened to yourself. If you had something happen to yourself, you're not even sharing a story about anything that happened. You're one of these idiots on the internet who uses the wording my guy and bro for women. That's what you do. You're using my guy and bro, and you're calling women my guy and bros. You have zero respect for women. That's what it is. No respect for women whatsoever at all. And they seem to be in line with the search engine optimization people. And that's what they seem to be. That's what I've noticed. They really are part of this search engine optimization thing. And so the dog in their fight is keeping these words surfacing. So, like with, the wording mental illness and stuff like that, mental illness and narcissist. Oh, Donald used that word a lot today too, narcissist. Um, so when they use that wording over and over again, like narcissist and mental illness and stuff like that, of course, when you've got these networks on YouTube, and that's what I was seeing today with Donald, with the thing going on with Donald, they had a what was it was an exclamation point that was first, and that was on his video, was exclamation point and then ASK. So they said, what they were saying is, if you want to ask him a question, type in the word, type in exclamation point ASK and then ask the question. And then there was someone in the comment section who was putting down this link asking for money. So they were asking for money during this whole thing that's been going on today. They were telling people that they had to pay $2 to ask a question. I don't think that turned out to be true, because I put in a question, and unless somebody else donated the $2, it's possible. But I put in a question and it actually got asked. I had to put in a ridiculous question, but it got asked though. Oh, what was the question I put in? I'll tell you, I know exactly what it was. I put in a lot of them. Now, some of them I put in I may not have heard, but I put in a question asking, I worded it this way, it was so funny. I asked him if the first lady takes the time out of the day to pop zits on his back. And he said something to the effect that, I think he said no, that she doesn't do anything like that. She doesn't pop zits on his back. She doesn't have time to do that. She has better things to do. He has bigger fish to fry. So I guess if he has zits on his back. And then someone by the name of Toupee kept asking him questions. Someone was using the pseudonym Toupee, asking him questions about his hair color and if he used hair gel and Um, and so he, it was funny. It was hilarious. He's probably still talking. And it changes too. It's not the same all the time. So he's not, if it's really is Donald Trump on that live stream, he's been going at it for like 10 hours today. If it's not a robot, but if it's a robot, it's hilarious, whatever's going on. I mean, the things that people ask him and the fact that he answered it, and then he's using all these curse words too, it was hilarious. But he said he likes the First Amendment, though. And it's like, well, he is showing that he will use the First Amendment. You know, typically people think of rich people. I know I do. You think of them as goody two-shoes. I know I always did. You know, because that's what we always, that's what we always think about is them not being human. And so they have to act a certain way for publicity's sake. They have to act a certain way. Oh, he was railing on religion too. He said he don't have time for religion. It's like, okay, now you're barking up my alley because I feel the same way. I mean, there's a lot of things that I totally agree with. When Donald says some of these things, I actually agree with him. It's like, I get it, the religion, and he can actually help influence in a positive way. I think it will be positive for people when he influences and says he doesn't have time for religion. A lot of people, it this is the simple side of it. A lot of people don't want to have anything to do with religion, and really, religion shouldn't hinge on whether you get elected or not. And clearly, with Donald Trump, it didn't matter. Religion didn't matter. He said he likes Christians. That's all he had to say. And so the thing I think about is that everybody wants their issues taken care of. Everybody has issues they need taken care of, and not everyone's issues have been taken care of. So, but right now, like with Donald, it's like everything he kind of says, he can't do what he says he's going to do. And so it makes him look like a liar. That's the only thing that's happening, is it makes him look like a liar because the things he said he was going to do, he is not happening. He was talking about a stimulus of some sort. Nobody got a stimulus. I didn't expect that we would get a stimulus. It would have been nice, but I didn't expect it. Okay, so my number 10, it is, I'm wondering if, I mean, I see it. I see the number 10 in here, but it is blending in pretty good right now. It's blending in really good. What time is it? It is 11:14. Okay, well, let's keep working on this. Okay. Uh-oh. Did Now I can kind of make these a little bit wider too, and then fill them in. So I make them white like that, and just fill them on in like that. And this works out. It still works out. But I do kind of, I do kind of like, I've noticed some of them will trace along the line like that. And then pop it on out. And trace along the line, make it dark, pop it on out. Trace along the line, and then pop. So there's kind of a movement. Makes the line a little dark. So there's kind of a special way that, I don't, you know, when you practice it and do it all the time, that's what I'm thinking. That's, I've kind of messed up a little bit. Not too bad. I think it's still going to work out. Oh, it sure did. It sure did work out. Okay, I just want to add a couple more lines in here like this. Some of my squares, they look like they get a little bit lost sometimes. Let's work on this one over here. There's something else I was thinking too, is what kind of government do we have if it's a fact that the government actually puts people on the internet to be purposely mean to YouTube content creators? What kind of government is that? That's what some people have said. I know years ago I said that um, I thought Disney employees were doing some stuff. And they're like, really? Do you really believe that? And it's like, yeah, I do. I mean, and it turns out to actually to be true. But but the thing I was thinking, what kind of government do we have if it's a fact that they put FBI on the internet to purposely be mean to YouTube content creators, to be jerks to YouTube content creators? What kind of service is that? If that turns out to be true, if it be a fact, what is the purpose of that for? I mean, because then it gets to the point of, okay, so you put adults who are paid like $100,000 a year on the internet to purposely be mean to adults and kids on the internet. Does that make any sense? Anyone have any insight into that? Um, these lines are a little bit wider than the other ones. I'm going to have to fill them in. I think it's the angle too. I'm kind of at an awkward angle right here. And so I think what it comes down to when I ask that question is um, that it's legacy media in their fight for whatever it is. I mean, because they have this nasty, nasty sentiment that comes out of them. And so I actually think that they are the ones who are sowing anti-government. Well, I mean, the government has already admitted that in their congressional hearings. They've already admitted that they know that legacy media has sown anti-government discourse on their TV shows. And it's like, when they do that, why wouldn't they do that on the internet too? Well, they do. The truth of the matter is they can hide out who they are, and they have a different platform that they come in on, and they've been doing it for a very long time, but then they blame the government for doing what they're doing. That's the whole thing, is, through their plausible deniability, that's what they do. Even the banking networks too. I mean, because they're involved with this. And the banking networks, my gosh, they put their employees on the internet, and they're the hardcore call center people, who just call and call and call and rail on everyone related to um, selling those stupid products that everybody knows is bogus. There. What is it about? This side has a little bit darker look to it than this side right here. Well, let me finish this up. I only got 2 left. I've only got 2 left here. Okay. Oh, we can barely see the 10 anymore. Barely, barely, barely. Barely see the 10. Do you see how much it's blended in there? 10 is blended in there really, really. We can't hardly see it. We need to fill in. Maybe I should just finish my last block and then I can fill in where I think I need to fill in. Some of them might need to be filled in a little bit. This thing's fun. This is a lot of fun, actually. Okay, now 10 is completely blended in. I mean, I think you guys can see it a little bit, but the number 10 is... I don't know that if it would be a magic eye type thing, you know, when you looked at one of those magic eyes. Now, I've noticed here on this side it's a little bit darker along these edges, so I did something a little bit different than what I did over here, it kind of seems like. But I can darken them up a little bit. I can go around like that and darken them up a little bit if I need a little bit more ink. But it actually looks better when it's naturally, when I do it naturally. So I'm not sure what I was doing different on the other side than what I did on this side. I'll have to try to figure that out. If I want to get the same effect. Oh, that's a mess. That looks like a mess. That looks like... They look similar. Am I going to have to do a little bit with the 10 to make it pop out? Otherwise, I just have, it just blends in a whole lot. Oh, I see. I can see it. I mean, I can see it. It looks pretty good. Okay, we need to add a little bit, few more lines up here. That's the nice thing about these types of line drawings is that if we need a little bit more of something in them, we can just add more lines in them and make them a little bit darker. Maybe, let's see, maybe. Why do I feel like I want to go this direction on here? What would happen if I did? I'd probably make a mess. Now, let's just leave them as tubes, and maybe I'll do an experimental one tomorrow. I'll do an experimental one at some point in the future and see what it looks like. Well, what do we got going on right here? A little mess right there in the corner. I like that. Okay. Like that guy on. Oh, he does the hold on. Do, 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 do. Hold on, I still want you. He says what he says is he does some of the cliches and that are not the cheesy ones. The ones that make sense. He's like, well, he says the ones that you help the most won't realize it until you're gone. You know, and we can say that about a lot of things on the internet with things that people did, you know. I mean, it's not always like that thing, you know, there's people who do jobs and things like that, and a lot of times they think that they're the only person that can do a job. And I know that happens. I never felt that way because I knew there was too many people who did waitress jobs and things like that and retail jobs and then they always had all those shows, you know, like Roseanne that had Roseanne and Jackie were waiting tables. Puff the magic dragon lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist. Oh, I like that. I can't see my 10 very well, though. I mean, I can see it, but it's not showing up very well. I mean, that's what's supposed to happen. It's not supposed to show up very well. I could define the lines a little bit more, but I really don't want to. I have these defined enough right in here. Oh, they're darker lines right in there. Do, 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 do. I like that. we got different sizes. I cut them in half, and that wasn't the end of the world, cutting these in half. And these are a little bit larger, and they blend right on in, just like I've made them in the past. Exactly how I've made them in the past. Nothing looks much. Wait, this one, though, what did I do different? Something. Oh, I know what it is. Something. I was trying to think. Something is different about these. The only thing that's different about these is that I didn't have 2 rows. So here I had 2 rows. These only have 1 row. And so that's why this one looks a little bit more like shells, and these other ones do not look like shells as much, except for right here. Well, this turned out better than I had anticipated, which that's always nice when that happens. I like that. So I'm going to have fun with this one too. So what I have it done in, what is it, 1 hour and 41 minutes. Technically, I think I had it done right about it an hour. It's close to that. I had it done. This one kind of looks like it has 2 eyeballs bugging out. Now this guy has blended in. That looks all right there. Doesn't look that bad. Let's mess it up a little bit here and see what we can do. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, we still don't look too bad. We just got double lines going on there. Make it pop out just a little bit more doing that. Okay, so we've got, let's point this out. So we've got, where's it at? Okay, we've got a 1 right here, and then a 0 right here. We've got 10. That's what we've got, is 10. A 1 and a 0. So the 0 is right here, and the 1 is right here with all these goofy little eyeball things in it. That's what it is. And it blends in pretty good. So, I mean, that's kind of my intent, is to blend it in. I mean, it's there, and it's going to be hard to see right at first. But I have to wonder, though. Let me put it far away. Yeah, when I put it far away, I can kind of see it a little bit. Yeah, I can kind of see it a little bit. But it may not be something that I would see right away. You know, it just looks like a bunch of gibberish on my paper. You know, so I may not see that there's actually a 1 and a 0 there at the letter numbers 10. The numbers 1 and 0, a 10 there. Okay, well, I think I'm done. So thank you guys who have stuck around here with me, even though we didn't get any comments. Would have been fun to get some comments, but sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. I don't know why I don't. I'm pretty sure I have them turned on. Or, let's see here. Nope, I sure don't have any comments at all. Okay, well, see you the next time.